Imagine being given the chance to live your life over, only to discover that time, aliens, and the unraveling of reality itself might make the second round even more complicated than the first. I'm Candace Rodarty.
I'm Shane Rodarty, Space Cadet Second Class.
And this is Sci-Fi Book Pod. So today we are talking about A Gift of Time by Jerry Merritt. And this is a book that Shane and I listened to in the car on our way to delivering some furniture, 7 or 8 years ago. And we thought that it would be fun to listen to it again. Shane especially wanted to talk about this book again. So Shane, why did you pick this listen?
I found this book after probably one of the Omega Force books. And I needed something between driving time, whatever. And I like the narrator. I like the storyline. We don't do too many time travel books, but obviously we're being inundated by time travel books lately.
Yeah, there's a theme in the next few episodes about time travel.
And so I guess we're going to break the time travel scenario with this book. I like because everybody thought, like, let's say if I had to relive stuff, but and retain my memories of me being older, and how would I relive my life again? And also it took place in the South, and I spent a lot of my years in the South. And so it's kind of like, well, it is my second life compared to my Michigan life. And so there was just it was good writing. It was really good writing. And it also dealt, it wasn't all happy, joy stuff. And so he had you on a good roller coaster. And so that's why, I like this book. It was simple. It was easy to follow along. It was emotional. Very emotional. Yeah.
And it had a lot of interesting twists and turns. I mean, some of them are predictable, but some of them were like, oh.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that you were drawn to the book because of this, that it took place in the South. Whereas as I was reading it, when they moved to California, they actually moved to the Monterey Bay Area in California. And as he's talking about all that, I grew up in the Monterey Bay Area. And so as he's talking about Moss Landing and places in the book, they were all very familiar places to me. So I related to that. I mean, you and I met in the South, but I don't have the same. I mean, you moved there you moved there when you were a kid, and I moved there when I was an adult.
I moved there when I was 15, went to high school in Bryan College Station, and lived out in more of the rural area of Bryan. Suburbs first, then rural area second. I've learned to, I got a lot of experience in the South in very different ways than you did.
Yeah. Kind of thing. I mean, I was an adult.
Well, my stepfather was he was a Texas good old boy.
So this book takes place over decades. I mean,
yes,
decades. So the premise of the book is Micajah Fenton is in his 80s and his wife has passed away and he's ready to take his life. And spoilers. And there is an alien spacecraft that crashes in front of his home. And so he ends up not taking his life. Instead, he travels back in time to being 8 years. Was it 8 years old?
10. It was 10 years
to
old.
being 10 years old, and he gets to live his life over again. And he
this is a huge spoiler alert. This is going to be a spoilers.
The whole thing is a spoiler, but he changes everything. I mean, everything that he did as a child changes. And he actually there's multiple instances of time travel. I mean, they go back in time multiple times, and sometimes they go back too far.
Yes, yeah. I forgot about that part, by the way. It was actually a pretty good part.
Yeah.
But the premise of the book, and you really don't know why until you're probably about 3 or 4 chapters in, that why he wants to go back, or why he wants to end his life, and so on and so on. And he feels like a failure. Although he owns a big corporation that deals with steel and stuff like this, which kind of segues of basically the time travel thing, but I'm not going to get too many details on that. But the thing is that he felt there was a failure, and you really don't know that failure until you're like almost halfway through the book, where basically, big spoiler, huge spoiler, his little brother comes up missing, and they never find him. So his thing was to go back, and he basically risked everything. He had a son. He has a son. You get to meet the son. He has a business, he has a family, he has so and so, like you said, through his whole life, except he doesn't know what happened to his little brother. And it was his responsibility, or he feels like it was.
Yeah, he feels like it's his responsibility.
Yeah, and the thing is that I've read a couple other time travel books that we'll probably be introducing here pretty soon.
Oh, yeah. Our next book that we'll be discussing is the Ivanhoe Gambit, which is really similar themology on if you could change time, would you?
Yeah, but this is another different book. This is not that book. This is a different book.
Yeah.
And basically, the premise is that guy goes back and he's trying to save his sister, who disappears as well. So this is a common theme of time travel scenarios, I guess. It's missing children.
I mean, that is the ultimate time travel question. I mean, if you could go back in time, would you kill Hitler? I mean, that is the ultimate time travel question. And the thing is,
would you change? Would you change?
Yeah. So
things in your life. So
go ahead.
The book, the alien itself, the alien that basically
Lovely Pebble.
He calls it Lovely Pebble, and she's actually very naked in the beginning of this book.
Because in her society, clothing isn't necessary.
Well, she's not even a human. She is actually a separate entity of the ship itself.
Well, yeah, she's an entity, but her original form was an aquatic animal.
Yeah, in a swamp.
Yeah,
so,
who lives in a swamp.
Swamp planet. The ship itself, or the thing that crashes, actually kind of reminds you of the TARDIS in a way. It's a lot bigger inside than outside, kind of thing. It's really too complicated to go into, so I think we probably should just kind of move toward the storyline, which is because the characters of this book he creates is people that if you grew up in the South or you know of the South, it's either people that you know already or people you would like to know, and some people that you definitely would not like to know. So they find out what happened to his little brother, and it's not very good. He actually befriends a new friend that he kind of disregarded when he was 10. That turns out to be something very, very special to him. And then this lovely character comes along. I'm going to get the wrong name. I'm going to get the name wrong because it just went away right now. Celia? Aunt Celia?
Oh, yeah, Aunt Celia.
Yeah, Aunt Celia.
Aunt Celia. Oh my God, she's amazing. She was a slave. I mean, so we went back in time far enough that Aunt Celia had been a slave. She's very old at this point, but she had been a slave. What we're talking the 50s, 60s, maybe.
So basically, he goes back in time to basically 1950s.
Yeah, and I think doesn't the book take place? Doesn't the book take place though in the 80s or the 90s?
No. Well,
I mean,
as he gets older, it progresses. As he gets older in time, it progresses.
There's
up to the
so
80s.
Many decades in this story. It's hard to remember how far back.
He gets dropped off as a 10-year-old boy. Or he gets back to his own body.
You know, I can easily find out what year it was.
And what happens is that he basically grows up in a normal timeline. But he retains all the memories of an 80-year-old man that was in 2020 something or 20 whatever. So you get to know these characters. And Aunt Celia is kind of like this old swamp woman in the panhandle of Florida, next to, I think, Alabama, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of like a soothsayer in a way. She's kind of like an old woman that has seen so much that she knows before you know. And I'm 57. And I can't even imagine living close to to the point where you're 80. That there's some people that today, and I'm 57, you get to so much experience dealing with people that you kind of pretty much know where people are at before they even open their mouth. So Aunt Celia is kind of very similar to the point where basically, she's seen a lot, she's done a lot. And so you can't pull one over Aunt Celia. You can't lie to Aunt Celia, right? And so she's the first one that that says, what's his name? God dang it.
McCager.
McCager.
Yeah, she
He
figured
says-
out McCager was from the future.
Yeah, really fast. Because she saw the ship over his house. And because she was picking, what was she picking? She was picking something by the
Mint leaves.
mint leaves by the moonlight or something like that. Because that's when it's the sweetest. Like I said, she lived a long time, so she knows everything, and she lives very simply in the swamp in a shack. And so she becomes a big part of this storyline. And then there's the mother, the father, and again there's what was his friend? The one he befriended? Artie. Yeah, Artie. And so he teaches Artie how to throw a ball or this, that, and the other thing. He really became friends with Artie. His dad, on the other hand, Artie's dad, right, is kind of like the character of Forrest Gump and Jenny, right? Her father, right? Just an awful person, a really awful, awful person. And I don't want to give this away. I don't want to give the spoiler away because it's too much of the story. It really is too much of the story. And but go ahead and kind of finish finish how basically it plays out on the end part, because I didn't really notice until what you said, how the rapture.
The Rapture, yes. So the story takes place between the 1960s when McCager was a 10-year-old boy and the early 2000s when he was 80 years old. So that just doesn't seem like it's enough.
Well, it's 1950s actually. 1950s.
I thought he was 80 when he died, though. So maybe it took place in the. I don't know. This is so strange. But anyway, and then, again, I asked ChatGPT, so this could be totally wrong. But this means that Aunt Celie, not old enough to have been a slave.
She was 19. It was the 1950s where it takes place. 55.
Well, see, it says the 60s, so ChatGPT must be wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, Aunt Celie. So I wanted to explore Aunt Celie because this is the South that we cannot forget happened. We need to remember this part of the South. So Aunt Celie, even though slavery was over, she still was beholden to a white family. And she was actually the daughter of the son of the plantation owner.
Slave owner.
And so she was actually the aunt of McCager's mother. And I can't remember what McCager's mother's name was, so we'll just call her Mom. She was the actual aunt of McCager's mother, and she raised McCager's mother because McCager's mother's mother didn't want to have anything to do with her. I mean, that is so indicative of the early 20th century South.
Right.
It really is.
So there's a lot of, that's why I said it. He's really good. The author's really good at details and mechanics in a way, but he doesn't get, in other words, like the last one was Hail Mary Project, where the author will get way too much into technical details.
Yeah, the way that Jerry Merritt got around explaining it was that he said that Lovely Pebble placed the information into his head.
Right.
So that Lovely Pebble just gave him the ability to create time travel.
And I'm sure as when he wrote this thing that basically he probably has tons of chapters and other writings where basically they're so detailed that he probably got lost, or the editor said, this is way too hard. This is way too much.
Well, there is a fine balance between being able to explain why something works and making it. I mean, science fiction is fiction. It's fantasy.
Exactly.
We don't really need to know the details. We just need to be lost in the story.
I mean, really, do we really know what a warp drive, dilithium crystal, starship, antimatter, whatever works? No, you're just throwing terms in there, and as long as they're close enough, you're okay.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't really get bogged down on that. Really, in other words, the time travel is actually probably a quarter of the book. I mean, technically, if you put it all together. And the rest is basically a storyline. And he's really true to that storyline. And you can actually tell that he says here he has several other books about the Deep South. And so you can tell that he really, it's kind of like me. I mean, you don't want me writing a book about Texas.
He is a historian and genealogist as well. So this is, I mean, all of everything that he loves is in the story. He's, he's created a story about the things that he's passionate about, which is how it's a good story. Go ahead.
So So what happens, I mean, it's really complicated to get into, but what happens is he ends up creating his own time machine. I'm sorry, that's a spoiler, but that's
No,
what
not
happens.
really, because that's the whole point of the book is he was given a gift of time, the gift
Yes,
of being able to create this time
that's
machine.
true.
But the
That's true.
but the whole point of the time machine was to help Lovely Pebble because Lovely
Yes,
Pebble was stuck.
yes. And the love there, the how this all works, and there's a hierarchy to the time travel scenario that
Yeah.
they got themselves. Kind of like if you're a Star Trek fan, you know about the continuum, Q,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and how that one episode in Generations where that one Q wanted to die.
That was
He wanted to
Voyager.
commit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
he no
Voyager.
no was that Voyager?
That was
Because he wanted to
Voyager.
commit. He wanted to commit suicide
We're arguing
because
over Star Trek episodes.
yeah.
Okay.
So what happened is that he wanted it to die because the continuum has become stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no change. There's no variety. There's no new inventions or curiosity, And so you have this hierarchy of the time who really controls the time machines and everything else. They have become stagnant as well. And Lovely Pebble has become a victim of this. And so Cager is like the disruption in that. All right. The whole thing of her crashing and this and that and the other thing, it all kind of like intertwines of like, it's like a time paradox of like, of course, I mean, it's like, wait, was that on purpose? Did she crash and is on purpose? Was this all planned? Is he creating the time machine they actually are using now? You know what I mean? We all wish for things to be, I don't know, all our ducks in a row. Okay. All right. And I think that's why we kind of think, oh, if we lived our life again and we lived our life again, we would fix all our mistakes. And the point of this, I think, is that those mistakes is what projects you, that moves you forward. All right. I'm an artist and I'm a creator and I'm a builder. All right. So I've made more than enough mistakes, especially when I'm building furniture, until you create basically a master product. And no matter, and when you get to that point, it becomes redundant and it becomes boring because you figured it out, kind of thing. So I think that's where we're in this somewhat book of his, and the time gods, or what do you want to call them, they have become stuck on Cager and Pebble are the disruption of this thing. In other words, it just creates havoc in a way, and from that havoc becomes a new beginning. That's what I was trying to get to.
How interesting that you found parts of the book to be more fascinating than I did. That was just another section of the book to me. It wasn't all that life-changing to me. But to you, you saw it as something that was a cornerstone of the book.
I read a lot more Hemingway than you do.
That is true.
And basically, Hemingway is all about regret. From one end of the book to the other end of the book, it's all about regret and looking
Well,
back.
and this book is sort of the same way. I mean,
Yeah, I got a
McCager's
very good Hemingway feel about when he was writing this. It's kind of very much like, it kind of reminded me of his short stories Have and Have Not. Again, it takes place in the South in Florida on his book. But anyway, let's get to the point of the redemption part, because I really didn't see this coming. But you mentioned it, and I'm going, oh my gosh, you're right. It is redemption.
the Rapture.
Rapture, yeah.
So
like
basically, we need to explain.
Spoiler, I guess.
Again, this is Sci-Fi Book Pod. Everything's a spoiler. So the aliens actually are not physical beings. They are part of a matrix. It's like the Matrix, right? They are not real. They are computer constructs, virtual people, and they can take any form they want to when they're traveling. Their ships are real, but they are not. And basically, these space aliens give Earth the opportunity to join them in the Matrix. Some do, and some don't. It felt very much like the Rapture. Like, this is what the Rapture is described as in the Bible. I mean, you can use your own imagination as to what happens to the humans that stay on Earth after the ones who choose to leave.
The thing about the the time aliens, you want to call them, let's just call them time aliens for now, is that if you do something for them, okay, it's not like, well,
Yeah, and
they have to give.
it's not just one alien though. It's like a conglomeration of
Yes,
aliens
yes.
from all over the universe. Many different planets, many different cultures, many different ideologies. And so the reason why they have this governing body is to make sure that nobody becomes a thief and that nobody takes advantage of the situation. And
There's
they
no
only
dictators.
there's no
That's what it
dictators.
keeps.
And
They even mention it. Because what happens is that, so that gets into it too. But one of their glitches or one of their laws is that if you help them, all right, with something, anything, that they have to give you a gift back.
mm-hmm.
All right.
Payment. It's not a gift. It's payment.
It's payment. They have to give you payment. And it can be as big as you want or small as you want. And there is no, oh, no, don't worry about it kind of thing. No, it's required. It's required. They have to do it. They'll keep on bugging you if you don't give them something. And it can be as small or as huge. It doesn't matter. It just has to be payment. And so Cager says, okay, well, I want XYZ. And so.
Well, the payment he asked for was to go back in time.
No. This is the last end. This is at the end of the book.
The second payment for the second.
He asked for the Ark.
Yeah.
He asked for the ship. He asked for the time ship that basically he can take everybody. So he goes back in time, and he goes and he knows how to time travel now because he invented a time travel. So he knows how this works back and forwards. And so he goes back and he does collect his brother, and he does collect his mother, and he does collect the people he loves, and he does collect Aunt Celie. I think she's the last. No, she was the first because she could explain it to everybody else.
Well, she's the one who already knew about the time travel.
Yeah. So I think she got her first. And at this
time,
she'd
already met Lovely Pebble.
Yeah, and she was about 109 or whatever it was. And so, but the thing is that it reminds me of Bob the Universe, where
Bobiverse?
The Bobiverse, where you're dropping
by Dennis E. Taylor.
You're dropping consciousness, okay, and so you're not a copy. You're actually the person. Cager, when he was dropped off as a 10-year-old, to make sure it was him, not a copy, all right, that he had to be conscious through the whole thing, so that way, it was him and not just a copy, all right? So this was the same thing as he was picking people up, especially Aunt Celie, she's 109, right? So, and she gets downloaded or whatever as the original, she's, and she's actually, Cager asked her, I think, he says, well, she goes, I think Cager automatically made her younger. And he asked her, he goes, well, is this okay? I mean, we can pitch you back at 100 or whatever. And she goes, oh, no. Me being 35 or 20 or whatever was just fine. And just kind of like Bob the Universe, they had this virtual world they could create, their own little heaven. All right. So, and when you said the rapture kind of thing, I go, oh yeah, this is it. This is actually what they're talking about, is that basically you're taken from a spaceship and you can create your own little heaven scenario. So I guess that's a big spoiler in a way in the book, but I don't think so.
we've already explained that they're in the Matrix.
Yeah, but I think the whole guts of the book is more the story. I could probably tell you spoiler alerts here and there and this, that, and the other thing, but I think you'd really, really, really would enjoy listening to this book, especially if you're driving on a trip or by yourself somewhere, and just let it take you. Mm-hmm. And don't let it, you don't have to think. You don't have to overthink. You don't have to go.
Yeah, there's not a lot of technical jargon.
You don't have to overthink this. You just have to let the story take you. And I think that's what I like this book. I usually like books like this that you can kind of sit back and let the author take you on a trip in unexpected turns and twists and this, that, and the other thing, in a very romantic kind of a Hemingway way of doing it. And that's why I like this book. I think this is the third or fourth time I've listened to this book.
Really?
Yeah. And well,
It was a second for me.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed in the author. I mean, here's Lovely Pebble, who is this alien, time traveler, and he treats her like a dumb woman sometimes. I was disappointed in the sexism.
I don't think as much as sexism, but this is my point of view. This is I'm coming from a guy. They really get into it. Him and Lovely Pebble get into it at the end of the book of basically because of betrayal, because of what her assignment was really, and how he treated her and her treated them, and the dialogue I thought was really good of this going back and forth of in a better sense what love was for them, for each other.
Yeah.
Because, she had an assignment at the end, and it's too hard to get into the book of basically how Pebble ends up with him on Earth in California, because there's another Pebble and she's on the moon, and the Pebble on the Earth is a copy. And she has an assignment, and she didn't tell her.
Yeah, she didn't tell him.
And so she knew
for decades.
He knew there was another Pebble or a Lovely Pebble on the moon, but he didn't know what her intentions was designed for.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of betrayal there.
Yeah, so there's a bit of betrayal, but at the same time, like you said, all right, I think he touched on basically he was taking advantage of her too.
Yeah. So, which is, I mean, if you think about it, and there's a quote that I pulled from the book that I thought was really actually perfect. And what is life but a search for someone who wants you? And that is really the whole story, is that in the end, even though there was that betrayal and the perception of being used, they really wanted to be with each other.
I give this one 4 bars.
4 bars out of how many?
4 bars. I give it. Okay, hold on. I give it. Let's see. Admiral has 5 bars, I think. 4 and 5, I think, or 3 and 4. Anyway, I give it 4 bars.
I have no idea. I just
4 pips. Told me. How about that? 4
you
pips.
told me to call myself an admiral, so I said okay.
Okay. We need to get some pips.
Okay. So my question for you is, if you were given the opportunity to upload your consciousness to an alien spacecraft and leave Earth, would you do it? You're thinking.
I see why not. I'm trying to figure out any kind of drawbacks to that. But here's the thing.
I am such a curious person by nature that I would say yes immediately.
But here's the thing. I guess you wouldn't. You'd be in the whole like Bob universe or the Q scenario. Of like, okay, what would you live forever? I mean, if you could like live, would you say to yourself, well, can I just add another 50 years to this and we'll be okay? All right? Because I don't want to rob myself of death itself. Does that make sense?
Well, I guess you could.
Because death is an experience. Death is an experience by itself.
Huh? Never thought about that.
And so it's kind of like you're in that same Q guy where basically he wants to commit suicide because they've never experienced death and they don't know what's on the other side, kind of, if there's anything on the other side.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that's how I kind of see it. I kind of see that basically is that, yeah, you could live forever, but even in Bob Universe, that came up as well, is that would you? And if you did, then you really do rob yourself of basically the death experience itself. Because we don't know. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
I mean...
yeah, I don't know. So I was thinking about how...
It's got really dark.
Well, I have 2 things I want to share. So don't let me forget the second one. The first one is the last 8 years... We moved to Michigan 8 years ago. And that time has flown by so quickly. It's like every time I think about it, I can't believe we've been here for 8 years, right? And our house that we live in is 100 years old. So imagine what this house has seen. So time flies really quickly. So I don't know if it would really be that much of a burden to live forever, right?
Well, as I said, can you add another 50 years without the arthritis? Can we do that?
Well, you are no longer a physical construct, though. You are just
There
a
you go.
program, right? So
There you go.
you don't have all the physical ailments. Although they have figured out how to download themselves into new creature, well, it doesn't matter. That's a whole nother thing. But
Well, I have a question. I have a question for you then.
But don't let me forget the second point that I wanted to
go
make.
ahead. Go for the second one.
Okay. So my second point is we were at a function the other night and there is a centerpiece on the table and it highlighted a historical figure who had lived from 1880 to 1980. And I was looking at those dates. I was going, this woman went from horse-drawn carriage to light bulb to airplane to car to nuclear weapons to computers on your desk, all within her lifetime. All within her lifetime.
Yeah.
Telephones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so much can happen in 100 years.
Well, look
and
at
it
us.
just goes by as a blink of an eye.
We're doing podcasts, on a screen from home, and
Yeah. I mean, I have said this a half a dozen times on my other show, but I'm going to say it again here. If you had asked my 18-year-old self, what do you want to be when you grow up? The glimmer of the thought of being a podcaster did not even exist. And I've been doing it for 11 years.
Well, ask me what I wanted to do.
What did you want to do?
Build shit.
And what is it that you do?
I build shit.
Anyway, what was your question that you were going to ask me?
Oh, would you want to relive your life with the knowledge you have now?
Oh,
just like Cager.
You know what? There was never anything that happened to me in my life that was so traumatic or so dramatic that I would want to change it. So no, I wouldn't relive my life.
If I did it, if I was right, there'd be, just because I'm a rotten 12-year-old boy, I don't think it's a good idea for me to go back in time with the knowledge I have now.
But yeah, I think
I'd be a lot more wealthier. I'll give you that right now. but
that's true. I mean, I would totally go back and invest in Microsoft and Apple. But
right. But I'm with you. There's things you cannot change.
Yeah, and I think
I cannot change my parents' relationship. I cannot change my brothers, our relationship. I cannot change, you can't change. The only thing you could probably possibly do is do more of one thing or another.
Yeah.
But then again, I hate to say it, but we're back at Hemingway again, which is basically full of regrets. And that was his main thing, is that do as much you can, this, that, and the other thing. So without the regrets, you just don't know. I mean, without going, oh, I shouldn't have built it that way. All right. Or feeling bad about something or feeling good about something. That's who you are now. So basically, if you did, you wouldn't be the same person, period. You just wouldn't. You'd be more greedier, probably, more likely, because it would be so easy. You'd probably be, I can tell you for, as a guy or basically as a person, you'd probably be more of an awful person. Right?
I don't know.
I mean,
I think it depends on the person.
That's what I'm saying.
So your supposition is that you would be an awful person if you went back in time and had the knowledge.
What I'm saying is that I would know more knowledge, which gives me basically a loaded gun.
But see, my thought process is,
and I don't trust myself.
Well, if you don't trust yourself,
I don't trust myself.
Then I shouldn't trust you either.
Hell no.
Okay.
You should never trust it.
I've never
trust any guy whatsoever.
Okay, so let's go back to, and what is life but a search for someone who wants you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust you, but I want you.
Mm-hmm. There you go. I think that was the ending of the Pebble thing too. I think that was the same conclusion, I believe. But what it comes down to is the whole book was basically on these characters, and you find out what's important to Cager was the Aunt Seeley character and the Pebble character and Artie character's mom, his dad, and all this was like he appreciated the kind of stuff was that he was trying to save his brother.
Yeah.
Which he couldn't save.
But remember, you just gave away the huge spoiler. But if you remember correctly, in his first lifetime, the first time he lived his life, he didn't have a relationship with Aunt Celie.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'll add to that. You're right. Because I had a stepfather. His name was Mac, and he was a Texas good old boy, racist SOB. But the thing is, Matt gave me this.
Pocket knife.
It's an old timer. It's called an old timer. I barely ever sharpen this thing. Okay, it keeps a razor's edge. And he gave this to me when I was like 16 or 17 years old. Right, and the same thing, he gave me at 22. And so, in his view or his eyes, is that every young boy should have an old timer. Right, and I still have it today. And that's what, 40 years? So, I mean, I always know where this damn thing is. I always do. And Seeley is kind of like that. Is that he gets to know these characters, that he just kind of like brushed aside. Because you're a child. You just brush that aside, kind of thing. So I get that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lamp that belonged to my Aunt Dorothy that we are not ever going to get rid of.
It's a pocket knife.
Yeah, it's my Aunt Dorothy pocket knife. Exactly.
So it's a good book.
It is a good book. I would recommend listening to it. And I mean, you've listened to it more than once. I've listened to it twice now. I mean, what'd you say, 3 or 4 times that you've listened to it?
Yeah, at least.
I think that if every time that you listen to this book, you will get something new out of it. It is almost 12 hours long, so it is not a quick story.
It is?
But yeah, it's 12 hours long, but it is a very good story. So we've been talking about A Gift of Time by Jerry Merritt. I'm Candace Redarty.
I'm Shane Redarty, second class. Working my way to be first.
I don't know if he'll ever get to first class. And you have been listening to Sci-Fi Book Pod.